So this is my first video of 2021. What I wanted to do with this video was just sort of have a wrap up for the year and a look forward at what you can expect from the channel in 2021. Now, this video is being recorded about a week into 2021. It took some time for me to figure out exactly how I want to pursue the channel moving forward and what I plan to do. So I haven't been posting any videos lately, but following this video, you can expect to see a lot of updates happening regularly, probably even daily, and that'll be cool. As far as 2020, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. Obviously, COVID was a thing. Obviously, 2020 was awful for a lot of people, myself included. I owned my own production company where I was putting on concerts, and anyone that knows that business knows that that was the first business to get hit, and it's probably going to be the last business to come back. So throughout 2020, I had to completely change my entire life around and figure out what I was doing moving forward. Now, I am holding out hope that I'll be able to return to promoting concerts and booking national acts and putting on shows in my state, in New Hampshire. But for right now and for the foreseeable future, this is kind of all I've got. The silver lining in not being able to do concerts and not being able to pursue the career that I've built over the last 15 years is that I now had time to do things I've always wanted to do that I just didn't really have the time to do before. So before, all of my time kind of went into putting on shows, planning shows, promoting shows, all of that. This year I was able to take a step back and say, okay, I've always really wanted to do Twitch. I've always really wanted to have a YouTube channel, and now I have time to do that. So whether or not it ends up being successful, yet to be determined, but it doesn't really matter. At the core of it, I'm allowed to pursue a passion of mine, and I don't want to waste the time that's given to me. So even though this year has been kind of awful in the grand scheme of things, for everyone, not just myself, there's a silver lining there, and that I get to do this. And even if concerts come back, I am going to continue doing this channel in some way, weekly. You know, I'm in now. I'm going to do this. And for now, I'm going to push it as hard as I can and really try to make this channel a success. I think I have, you know, an interesting perspective I can give on a lot of games, whether it be on Magic the Gathering or console gaming or any other game. I think this could be a really interesting place, and what I loved most about putting on shows was building a community, was having a place where other people could feel like they're a part of it, where other people could go to feel like they're a part of something, maybe if they don't have somewhere else that they feel like they can go to fit in. And even though this channel, I don't feel like it's doing that to the same extent that putting on concerts was, I feel like I can get at least a little bit of that out through this channel, and that's really important to me. So this channel is going to continue to grow moving forward. I'm going to continue to push it as hard as I can, and we'll see where it goes. Whether it takes off or not, it's going to be fun, and I'll get to pursue my passion. So hopefully you guys will stick around for the ride with me and support what I'm doing here. We have a lot of cool content planned for the year, but as far as 2020, yeah, that's how it looked for me, and it was kind of rough. I do want to talk about some of my favorite games from 2020 in this video, and there were a lot of cool ones. One of the silver linings in kind of having the year off, so to speak, because of what happened with, you know, the COVID, is that I got to spend a lot more time playing games than I normally would. And I got to play a lot of cool ones. So we're going to go over my top 5 games. So first of all, my honorable mention has to go to Ghost of Tsushima. Now, this is some people's game of the year, and I could see why. It was absolutely gorgeous. The production values were insane. The narrative was gripping. Everything about the game was great. Now, normally, I'm not a super big fan of open world games. I tend to have a little bit of OCD when it comes to making sure I complete side content. And I get in this rut where, like, if I don't go do the side content, I feel super bad about it, so I kind of have to. But then a lot of times, like, if you have, like, an Ubisoft open world game, for example, there's just so much side content, and all of it feels really fillery. and it bogs me down to the point where I get bored of the game. So it's kind of like a screwed if you do, screwed if you don't situation. If I go and do the side content, I get bored. If I don't go do the side content, I have this like nitpicking feeling in my brain of like I'm missing out on stuff, and it feels really bad. So normally open world games aren't really for me. But Ghost of Tsushima actually did it really well. It was gripping, and I think an open world game is at its best when you don't pay attention to all of the icons and all of the side content that there could be, and instead you're organically exploring that world, coming across what happens to be there, and choosing to explore a certain area or a certain thing because it piques your interest within the game, rather than just going onto a map and seeing what's there and searching out all of these side quests and these icons. So I think Ghost of Tsushima did that really well, and told a really great story while doing so. I'm not completely finished with it. I got kind of sidetracked by the Legends multiplayer mode, which was equally amazing, and honestly the raid experience in the multiplayer for Ghost of Tsushima was really, really incredible. One of the best raid experiences. That team really knows how to combine traditional raid mechanics where you have to work as a team to puzzle solve and to complete challenges with the action-oriented gameplay of a game like Ghost of Tsushima. So it was really, really cool. I think Ghost of Tsushima Legends is amazing. If you like co-op experiences, definitely check that out. And that game is definitely deserves to be mentioned. So even though it's not in my top 5, because there were a lot of great games I experienced this year, that game is incredible and phenomenal. So it deserves to be mentioned. Moving on. Number 5 would have to be Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now, a lot of people complained about this game when it first came out. All of the purists were saying how it's just not similar enough to the original Resident Evil 3, and there were enemies that were missing, and there were locations that were missing, and people were really up in arms about it. But I've been a huge diehard Resident Evil fan for a long time, and honestly, I thought the game was incredible. Is it short? Sure. Is it worth $60? I don't know. Probably not. But I didn't really care about any of that. You know, I went in without expectations, and I was just like, hey, I want to experience great story and atmosphere within this engine that was created for Resident Evil 2 Remake, and really see it with the kind of quality and the kind of presentation that today's AAA games brings. And it delivered that in spades for me. The set pieces were insane. It wasn't as exploration focused or puzzle focused. It was very much a move from A to B to C with some light elements of exploration and puzzle solving in the middle. So it was definitely different from Resident Evil 2. But the thing is, if you go in with an open mind, it's actually a very, very good complementary experience to Resident Evil 2 Remake. If you play them back to back, you get a lot of the exploration and the puzzle solving in Resident Evil 2, and you get it kind of out of your system, and then you're able to go into Resident Evil 3 with this sort of newfound luster for just pushing forward through the narrative and experiencing the story. And there is a really great story to be had here, and a ton of great atmosphere, and just really amazing set pieces and boss fights to really push through. And as a complementary game to Resident Evil 2 Remake, playing them back to back, which is what I did earlier this year, it was really an incredible experience. Now, Resident Evil 2 Remake is probably my favorite Resident Evil of all time, which unexpectedly took the crown from the original Resident Evil 2 for me, which was very unexpected. That game was amazing. But that game didn't come out this year, and I played it for the first time when it did come out in a previous year. So Resident Evil 3 Remake for sure this year was incredible, and definitely makes my number 5 pick. If you've been avoiding it because you're hearing a lot about how it's not worth the money, or about how they changed too much from 3, like, don't pay any attention to that. For everything they took out, they added something just as amazing. And they pushed a narrative that really connects to the overall overarching Resident Evil storyline a lot better than the original 3 did. So if you're worried about that, don't let that bog you down. If you're worried about being worth the money, it's on sale now. It's not as expensive as it used to be, and it's absolutely worth a $30 or $40 purchase. So definitely grab this game if you're interested, if you just weren't willing to pay the original $60 price tag when it came out, because if you're a Resident Evil fan, if you're into survival horror, this game was great. Moving on to number 4, my number 4 game of the year would have to be Final Fantasy XIV. Now, this game didn't come out this year. It's been out for quite a while. It is a multiplayer online MMO game. But honestly, I got really deep into it this year, and I spent hundreds of hours playing this game. This game was incredible. I am towards the end of the final expansion, Shadowbringers. I haven't actually beat it yet, but everything that I've experienced so far has been amazing. The original Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, was probably the weakest part of the game, and it was still really good. But once you get to the first expansion, being Heavensward, it really starts to open up. The narrative really starts to take off, and everything is just great. I think what's really impressive about this game that's overlooked by a lot of fans of single-player games is the fact that the single-player storyline in this game is better than most single-player RPGs, even if you don't take into account the multiplayer aspects of it being an MMO. Like, you get a single-player storyline here that is amazing, with characters that are fully fleshed out and amazing. And with so many expansions and so much content, the story goes on for so long, and it never gets boring. It's constantly gripping. It's like watching your favorite Netflix series that has 10 seasons. Like, and it's still going. So, like, I'm really looking forward to the content that comes out for this game in the future, and everything that I've played so far has been amazing. If you've been skipping Final Fantasy XIV because you think maybe it's not for you because it's an MMO, definitely don't. Give this one a try, because honestly, the single player is better than most Final Fantasies that have come out in the last 10 or 15 years. It's really, really good. Moving on, my third favorite game of the year was Demon's Souls for PS5. Now, this is a remake, but the PS5 version is just amazing. I played a little bit of the PS3 version back in the day, and it was good, but Souls didn't really click for me back then. It took me playing Bloodborne for a solid 8 hours before the Souls sort of archetype and gameplay loop really clicked, and I realized, oh, I actually love these games. It is hard, but it's hard in a way where it's on you. It's not unfairly hard. You need to learn your enemies. You need to learn the environment. And you can't just run through it and hack and slash. Anyone who's played Souls games knows that you need to respect the enemies and the environment. You need to learn how to not get hit by them and to survive before you can kill them. And it takes a different sort of way of pursuing this game and playing through this game that most games don't do. These days most games hold your hand. They want you to finish the game. They expect you to finish the game. And they try to trick you into feeling like you're being challenged when really there's no chance of you even losing. Most games don't really have a difficulty to them. This game resembles more games that I grew up with, 8-bit games, 16-bit games. Back then, they made games difficult. They made games not to be beaten. You had to work to beat games, and the Souls games feel like this. So being able to go back to Demon's Souls with a fresh coat of paint after finally getting the Souls series as a whole to click for me, and for me to get to understand them, and now getting to play through this game pretty much for the first time, not having made it far in the original, with this fresh coat of paint looking as amazing as it does and running as amazing as it does on the PS5 architecture, was a treat, a real treat to experience. And I'm not completely done with it yet. I'm looking forward to finishing it over the next couple weeks, but this game was incredible. Souls games as a whole are something that I need to say you should try. If you've put off trying them, give them a shot and actually give them a chance, because I played Demon's Souls for a couple hours, didn't click. It was frustrating. I moved on. I played Dark Souls when it came out for a few hours, and the same thing. And it took me playing Bloodborne for 8 hours straight till I could finally get it. It's like you have to take advantage of every single little thing that you can to try to turn the tide of the battle to you. You have to respect every single normal enemy as if they are a boss and treat them like a boss. You can't just die and want to get back to where you were and rush through the normal enemies like you can another game. You have to take it slow. You have to respect every enemy. You have to use every little thing to your advantage. And once it finally clicks and you're able to do that, and you're able to not hold any little thing back to push forward in those games, you really start to get this satisfying sense of accomplishment, and that everything that you're doing matters, and every little sacrifice you're making in the game to push forward matters. And it's a feeling that you can't really get out of any other game. So give Souls games a try. Obviously, if you have a PS5, definitely check out Demon's Souls. Absolutely incredible. Moving on to my second favorite game of the year, this would have to be the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and oh my goodness, do I have a lot to say about this game. First of all, it is not just a remake, it's also a sequel. And I'm not going to say why or how because that could spoil it. But I think people that are disliking this game and saying that it's not Final Fantasy VII and they're disappointed, there are those people out there, they kind of don't get it. I think it's going over their head. But the fact that we can get the best of both worlds, this is a sequel and it is a remake at the exact same time, and we get to experience the best of both worlds. We get the game that we remember redone with insane graphics and great performance, with this brand new coat of paint, with this brand new layer of depth that we come to expect in modern games. We get to experience all of those locations, those moments, those characters with full voice acting, and we get to experience them the way we only were able to envision them in our heads before. And that makes it a really incredible experience. But then on top of that, you get to dive a layer deeper, and you won't realize this until you beat the game. And I can't say how because I don't want to spoil you, but you dive a level deeper where you realize there's another story going on. There's a story that adds to the story of the original. This game does not replace the original, and that's what makes it so special. The only people that are complaining about it are people that are feeling like this game is supposed to replace the original as the ultimate definitive edition of Final Fantasy VII, and in some ways it does that, but that's not how you should look at it. It really does add to the original experience and not replace it. So everything that happened in the original Final Fantasy VII matters, and this game needs to be considered continuity to that. And I won't say how or why, but when you finish the game, you'll understand. And there is this deeper layer and this story that's adding context and adding on to everything that happened to the original. And if you're holding back on playing this because you're a purist and you don't want to think that this replaces the original Final Fantasy VII because it doesn't do this or it doesn't do that or it doesn't have turn-based combat or whatever, don't let that stop you. This game is incredible. I was absolutely blown away that I got to experience so much of the original game with this fresh coat of paint and with voice acting and this deeper level of connection. But at the same time, getting to experience a story that in its own way, in a deeper layer, carries on the legacy of 7 and gives me hope to see more added on in the future. So this game was incredible. Final Fantasy VII Remake is up here for me, and it's really hard to be topped. But I do have a number one game of the year, and it's also very controversial. So my favorite game of this year was The Last of Us Part 2. And it's really, really crazy for me to think. I go over my list of everything that I've put in this video, and almost every game in this video is super divisive. There's a lot of people that don't like all the games I've listed. And usually it's because they have an idea going into the game of what they want it to be, and then it's not that. Whereas with all of these games, I went in with an open mind. I didn't have an expectation of what they should be. I let the game creator show me what their vision was and experience it from a fresh perspective. And going in with those perspectives, I've loved all of these games, and The Last of Us 2 is the best example of this. Now, if you're going into The Last of Us Part 2 thinking there's going to be a happy ending and thinking that things are going to happen to the characters you love that you want to happen, you're kidding yourself. The entire point of the Last of Us series is that awful things happen to people you really care about, and there's nothing you can do about it. And expecting this game to be any different is kind of crazy. I thought the story this game told was incredible. There's a redemption arc, and there's a feeling of getting across the fact that not everyone in the world is good or evil. Not everything in the world is black and white. And it teaches this important lesson of you need to see things from other people's perspective in your own lives, in this game, but also in your own lives. And it's sort of a lesson really taught to me where you need to see things from people's perspectives. And this game forces you, I won't spoil it, most of you probably already know, but this game forces you to see things from other characters' perspectives, people that you don't want to see the perspectives of, people that you want to be able to vilify and hate. You are forced to walk in their shoes. You are forced to see things from their perspective. And you are forced by the end of the game to understand that if you're going to go on a revenge mission, if you're trying to seek revenge, you might as well dig two graves. One for the person you're going up against and one for yourself. Because revenge is nasty and dirty and it's not glamorous. And this game isn't glamorous, and it doesn't do what you want it to do. It rips your heart out. It breaks your heart. It stomps all over your feelings, and it makes you want to throw your PlayStation across the room. But at the end of it all, it's impactful, and it really makes you feel something, and it really makes you think about the world in a way that if the story was done any other way, it wouldn't get those messages across. Now, I understand some people, they aren't going to appreciate what this game is trying to do. They just want a good story, a good game with the characters they love, and they want to feel good. And I get that. I understand that you don't like it for those reasons. But you need to understand that there are so many games out there that give you that give you your feel good, your comfort food. And that's not what this game is. This game is trying to be blunt and show you something truly meaningful and make you think about the world in a different perspective. And I really appreciate it for that. And I'm not just saying this to be a contrarian. Like, this game was incredible to me. I love the characters. I hated when bad things happened to the characters that I loved, but it meant so much to me that this story was told in this way. So anyway, that was my favorite game of 2020. The games I've experienced as a whole across 2020 really meant a lot to me, and I was really grateful that I got to experience them. I'm looking forward to a year of amazing games from 2021. I have a PlayStation 5, so I'm ready to go, and you can expect a lot more console coverage on this channel moving forward. You can also expect a lot more Magic the Gathering coverage on this channel moving forward. It's spoiler season right now for Kaldheim, and we've got a bunch of videos going up soon for that. So definitely stay tuned. We are over 200 subscribers. This channel grew very quickly. We've only been around for a few months, and we were able to hit over 200 subscribers in those few months already. So I'm really going to push to try and make this channel go somewhere over the course of 2021. And I'd be really happy to see you guys along for the ride. So definitely look forward to more. And thanks so much for checking out this channel. And let me know how you feel about all of my opinions. I'm sure they're very divisive. I'm sure you're going to tell me my opinion's shit and that you disagree with all the games that I said were my favorite of the year. But you know what? I had fun with them, and some of them were really meaningful and really impactful. And I'm looking forward to a good 2021. So stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for checking it out. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. We are pushing hard for that 1,000 subscriber mark, so please consider subscribing. Hit that button. There's a circle in the middle over there. Hit that, subscribe, tell all your friends to do it. Thank you. Also, give this video a like so more people can see it. If you'd like more PlayStation and console game coverage, we've got that down below. And if you'd like more Magic the Gathering coverage, there's more of that somewhere off over that way. Do all the things.